Hi, it's Matt Brown again. As we're making our way through the meat of the pandemic here, we've all made our own observations about how we're functioning, how our children are functioning, how our relationships are being impacted. And so just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the factors at play, which will hopefully help to make sense of how we're going through it, and then we'll follow up with some recommendations on how it can be managed. So first of all, every day of the pandemic is its own loss. Every day that we can't touch and hug and play and be in the same space and see people smiling and interact the way that we want to, it represents its own loss, and loss always triggers the emotion of sadness. Now, when we feel sadness, our energy drops, and this is by design because the function of sadness is for everything to slow down, for us to reflect on what's lost, and then there tends to be an upswing after that when we've wrapped our head around that reality and we're able to move forward. Now, each day being another loss, we don't have this kind of upswing. We don't, because each kind of successive day brings its own form of loss, and so that's where I think we end up being kind of stuck in this holding pattern of sadness and what comes with it. So what comes with it, our energy tends to go down. As our energy tends to go down, we lose motivation, and as we lose motivation, we start to think, like, what's wrong with me? Why am I not functioning or performing the level that I normally do? So we can start to get into that pattern of kind of shame about our own function. So that's one of the factors at play. And the other thing about sadness is it focuses us on what's been lost. And as this is happening, there are constant reminders about how this is affecting us and how it may affect us tomorrow. So it's keeping us in this kind of perpetual kind of down spin here where we're not able to dig out. The second factor that's a big one is just our stress response. Through the pandemic, there are a whole bunch of layers of stress. So there's the real possibility of getting infected ourselves, and how will that affect us? The possibility of passing the virus on to other people in our community or loved ones or family members, and that's its own stressor. It also is, you see in our kids right now, there's a lot of stress about, could I show up tomorrow and find out that our sport's been taken away, or we can't play games, or all those things are, and they're real fears, and so it's keeping us in this kind of perpetual stress, elevated stress response, and we're actually built to handle stress. But usually how it goes is there's a stressor of some sort, and then our sympathetic nervous system, our system that gives us the energy and the focus in order to deal with those stressors, it switches on. And when it switches on, adrenaline is released, our focus is on those threats, and then we're able to deal with it. And then once we deal with it, our system comes back down. So in place of adrenaline, there's something called noradrenaline or norepinephrine that's released. And then we calm down, we settle, we're able to relax, we're able to recover. But again, the stressors that we're being faced with right now, the virus, how's it going to affect my day-to-day life? How's it going to affect our economy and our financial situation? Those stressors aren't going away. They're there constantly, and so it's keeping us in this kind of peaked sympathetic nervous system response to those stressors. So as a result, since we're not able to come down from the stressor, since it doesn't have an endpoint that allows us to recover, that's why we're seeing people who are feeling the symptoms of anxiety, shakiness, sometimes that hitch in your breath, can't get a full breath in, difficulty in sleep. If your system doesn't come down, if it kind of stays, elevated here, in terms of our nervous system, then sleep becomes disrupted, and that's one of the things that they've studied and found, that the pandemic is affecting people's sleep tremendously. Trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep, not feeling like you ever fall into that deep sleep. So with the sadness portion, our energy is depleted. With the stress part, we're in this kind of constant kind of anxious state, and that's affecting our recovery and the ability to kind of restore ourselves. So there's the net effect is this kind of slow burn of energy, and as well with this, with dealing with this loss every day and with dealing with that stress response, what we're starting to see, actually for months now, we've seen evidence of what we would call an emotional fatigue, where people are starting to just experience kind of a numbness, a flatness, and at that level it's difficult to function as well. So that's the bad news. In the next video we'll talk about some strategies that and perspectives that can be used to try to function as best we can given this reality.